Ever wonder why some people just seem to build wealth so easily while most of us feel like we're stuck on a financial hamster wheel? Well, the answer might just be in a massive mindset shift, one that's taught in one of the most famous finance books ever written. Today, we're cracking open the core lessons from Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad and exploring how its ideas can totally change your financial future. This one sentence, this is the heart of the entire book. And trust me, it's not just some clever saying, it's a radical idea that flips everything we're typically taught on its head. You know the drill. Go to school, get a good, safe job, and work hard for that paycheck. But Kiyosaki argues that's actually the path to financial struggle, not freedom. The real goal isn't just to work harder for your money, it's to build systems where your money becomes your best employee, working for you 24/7. And what makes the book so powerful is its simple, personal story. See, Kiyosaki grew up with two very different father figures. There was his own dad, who he calls his poor dad. This was a man who was highly educated, had a great government job. But you know what? He struggled with money his entire life. Then there was his best friend's father, the rich dad, a guy who dropped out of high school but went on to become a self-made millionaire. And these two dads, they gave him completely opposite advice about money. And right here, you can see the huge difference in how they saw the world. Poor Dad, a product of the traditional system, always said, study hard so you can find a good company to work for. His whole world revolved around job security. But Rich Dad, he flipped that idea completely. He said, study hard so you can find a good company to buy. His focus was all about ownership. You see the difference? One path is about climbing the corporate ladder, the other is about owning the ladder itself. Okay, so what happens when you follow Poor Dad's advice? Well, you end up in what Kiyosaki famously calls the rat race. Think of it like the default financial program that society gives us, a trap that keeps people working incredibly hard but never really getting anywhere. And here's how that trap works. It's a cycle. You get a job to earn a salary. Then you use that money to pay your taxes and your bills. Then maybe you get a raise. Awesome, right? But what happens next? Your lifestyle creeps up. You get a nicer car, maybe a bigger house, and suddenly your expenses have grown to meet your new income. Now you're stuck, working even harder just to pay for it all. You're running faster and faster on that hamster wheel, but you're not actually moving forward. So how in the world do you get out of this race? Well, according to Rich Dad, the key isn't to work harder, it's to think differently. The escape route is built on what might be the single most important lesson in the whole book, understanding the simple but profound difference between an asset and a liability. Now, forget all the complicated definitions you heard in accounting class. Rich Dad's definition is brutally simple. An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket. That's it. It's something that generates income for you. And on the flip side, a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. It's something that costs you money. This simple distinction right here is the absolute foundation of building wealth. So this leads to a huge difference in behavior. The rich spend their time and money acquiring assets, things like rental properties that pay them every month, stocks that pay dividends, or businesses that make money even when they're not there. The poor and middle class, on the other hand, spend their money on liabilities that they often think are assets, things like a mortgage on their own home, car loans, and of course, credit card debt. It all comes down to which way your cash is flowing. One way leads to wealth, the other leads to a lifetime of making payments. And this brings us to Kiyosaki's most controversial point. Is the house you live in an asset? Well, according to Rich Dad's super simple definition, the answer is no. Think about it. Your primary home takes money out of your pocket every single month, right? Mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs, it's all outflow. It doesn't generate income. Therefore, it functions as a liability. Now, rental property that you own that pays you every month, that's an asset. Okay, so the goal is to buy assets. We get that. But how you earn your money in the first place has a massive impact on your ability to do that. And this brings us to Rich Dad's roadmap to financial freedom, the cash flow quadrant. It's a simple way to see where your money is coming from and how you can change its path. The quadrant shows the 4 main ways people earn an income. On the left side, you've got E for employee and S for self-employed or small business owner. On the right side, you've got B for a big business owner and I for investor. And believe me, where you are on this map pretty much determines your entire financial journey. Now, the left side is where most people are, and it's a real trap. As an employee, you have a job. As a self-employed person, you own a job. But in both cases, your income is tied directly to the hours you put in. If you stop working, the money stops coming in. You are literally trading your limited time for money. The right side, though, this is the path to freedom. As a business owner, you own a system, and people work in that system for you. And as an investor, your money is what works for you. Over here, your income is disconnected from your time. This is where you find true passive income. You could be on vacation for a month and your assets are still working, still earning for you. This is where wealth can truly scale. So the big question is, how do you make that jump from the left side of the quadrant to the right? It all starts by changing the very reason you go to work. It's no longer just about the paycheck. It's about getting prepared. Rich Dad's advice was to start looking at your job as a training ground. Don't just work for the money, work to learn critical skills. What kind of skills? Things like sales, marketing, communication, leadership, and understanding financial statements. These are the exact skills that will empower you to build your own businesses and invest wisely, the skills you absolutely need to succeed on the right side of the quadrant. So we've covered assets, the quadrant, and skills. But what is the single most important tool you have to make all of this happen? It isn't money to start with. It isn't luck. It's actually something you already have right now. And there it is, the ultimate lesson. Your greatest asset, by far, is your financial intelligence. You know, the traditional school system teaches us how to be good employees, but it doesn't really teach us anything about money. So investing in your financial IQ by reading books, studying, practicing, that is the single most important investment you will ever make. A trained mind sees opportunities everywhere, opportunities that everyone else just walks right past. And that brings us to the final game-changing idea. And it all comes down to the questions you ask yourself. Poor Dad would often just say, I can't afford that. And that's a statement, right? It just shuts your brain down. End of story. But Rich Dad, he taught Kiyosaki to ask a question instead. How can I afford that? That simple question forces your mind to open up, to get creative, to start problem solving. It's the huge difference between a mindset that's closed to possibilities and a mind that's actively building the future you want. One is a dead end, the other is the start of a whole new journey.